Respect isn't something you notice until someone takes it away. My son-in-law humiliated me in front of my entire family over dinner. Everyone heard it. Everyone froze. Then, just as I was about to leave, 3 words were spoken. Those 3 words changed every relationship in that room forever. My name is Richard. I'm 67 years old. I've spent my entire life believing family should protect each other. That night, mine didn't. Or at least, that's what I thought. My daughter Emma married Jason 4 years ago. At first, I genuinely liked him. He was confident, hardworking, successful, the kind of man who always had something interesting to say, maybe a little too confident, but I figured marriage would smooth out those rough edges. Instead, the older he got, the more arrogant he became. It started with little comments, "Dad, technology has moved on. You still drive that old truck? You should really invest better." I ignored it. He was younger. Maybe he thought he was helping. Then the jokes became personal. At family gatherings, he'd laugh about how I still repaired things instead of replacing them. He called me old school. Everyone chuckled awkwardly. I smiled. Inside, it stung more than I admitted. Emma noticed. Several times she'd quietly apologize afterward. "I'm sorry." That's just how Jason jokes. But jokes are supposed to make everyone laugh, not just the person telling them. Last Thanksgiving, we hosted dinner at my house. The entire family came. My sister, my brother, grandkids, even neighbors dropped by. Everything was going perfectly. Until dessert, Jason started talking about promotions at work, then salaries, then investments. Eventually, he looked straight at me. "You know, Richard. You spent 40 years working, and this little house is all you've got?" The room became silent. I forced a smile. It was enough for us. He laughed. "No offense. But I hope I never end up living like that." Nobody spoke. Then he added the sentence I'll never forget. "I'd rather die than settle for mediocrity." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every person at that table knew exactly who he meant. I slowly put my fork down. My appetite disappeared. I looked around the room. Nobody said anything, not even Emma. I stood up. "I think I'm done eating." As I reached the hallway, I heard 3 words behind me. "Enough, Jason." It was Emma. Not loud, not dramatic, just firm. For the first time since they'd been married, she didn't defend him. She stood up, walked into the hallway, and took my arm. "I'm sorry, Dad." I told her she had nothing to apologize for. She shook her head. "I should have stopped this years ago." When we returned to the dining room, Emma remained standing. She looked directly at her husband. "You owe him an apology." Jason laughed. "Seriously?" "Yes." I was joking. "No. You were disrespectful." The room stayed silent. Then my grandson quietly spoke. "Dad, I don't like when you make Grandpa sad." You could have heard a pin drop. Children have a way of exposing truths adults spend years avoiding. Jason looked around. No one was smiling anymore. No one was agreeing with him. For the first time, he realized he was completely alone, without another word. He stood up and left. Dinner ended early. The next morning, Emma called me. He stayed at a hotel. I don't know what happens next. I told her not to rush anything. People only change when they're willing to hear uncomfortable truths. A week passed, then another. Finally, Jason knocked on my front door. He looked exhausted, older somehow. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to explain." I invited him inside. He admitted something I'd never expected. Growing up, his father constantly mocked anyone who earned less money. Success was measured by income. Respect was measured by status. If you weren't the richest man in the room, you were nobody. Without realizing it, Jason had become exactly like him. I thought I was motivating people. He admitted, I never realized I was humiliating them. I listened quietly, then I asked one question. When was the last time you fixed something with your own hands? He laughed. I honestly don't know. I took him into my garage. An old wooden rocking chair sat in the corner, broken, missing several pieces. It was Emma's mother's favorite chair. We never threw it away. For the next several weekends, Jason came over, not for lectures, not for awkward conversations, to rebuild that chair. At first, he struggled. Couldn't measure properly, couldn't sand evenly, got frustrated. I never criticized him. I simply showed him. Slowly, the chair came back to life. So did our relationship. One afternoon, he looked at me and smiled. You know, I've spent my whole life buying new things. I forgot how satisfying it feels to repair something. I nodded. That applies to people too. Months later, at another family dinner, the restored rocking chair sat beside the fireplace. Jason stood before everyone holding a glass. I want to apologize, especially to Richard. I confused money with success. I confused confidence with respect. And I almost taught my own son to make the same mistake. Then he handed me a small wooden plaque. He'd carved it himself. It simply read, Asterisk character outlives wealth. Asterisk asterisk. It still hangs in my workshop today. Looking back, the most important words spoken that night weren't the insults. They were Emma's 3 simple words, enough, Jason. Sometimes that's all it takes. One person willing to stop pretending everything is fine. Because silence protects the wrong person. Speaking up protects everyone else. If you've ever had a family member disrespect someone you love, share your story in the comments below. Sometimes the strongest families aren't the ones that never face conflict. They're the ones brave enough to confront it before respect disappears forever.